Let me start by asking you a question. Adversity isn't something to avoid. It's the very ground where greatness is born. The world often teaches us to seek comfort, to play it safe, to avoid pain at all costs. But here's the truth: anything worth building, worth becoming, is going to cost you something. And that cost often comes in the form of pressure, resistance, and challenge. The very situations that feel like they're meant to break you are the ones that are meant to build you. When you're in the fire, it doesn't mean you're being destroyed. It means you're being refined. Adversity has never been the enemy. It's your advantage because it forces you to reach into the depths of who you are and pull out a version of yourself that comfort would never require you to become. People often confuse being planted with being buried. They think darkness means defeat. But the seed that is buried under dirt is not dead. It's in process. It's in preparation. And so are you. Every trial, every loss, every lonely night, and every silent struggle is not the end. It's the soil. And the deeper you're pushed, the more powerful your roots become. You don't rise high without going deep. And if life is digging you deep, it's because your destiny is meant to rise tall. So don't curse the dirt. Don't fear the silence. Growth doesn't shout. It happens in quiet, hidden places. That's where power is forged. Your mind is the battlefield where every victory is first won or lost. Long before your body follows, your belief leads. The strongest people aren't those who never feel fear or doubt. They're those who train their thoughts to rise higher than their circumstances. They've learned to interrupt fear with faith, to replace worry with vision, and to reject weakness with unwavering belief. This isn't about fake positivity. This is about disciplined thinking. When you take control of your thoughts, you take control of your future. You don't wait for the situation to change. You shift your perspective, and suddenly, everything changes from the inside out. Pain will always feel permanent in the moment, but it never is. It passes. It shifts. But what remains is the purpose you pull from it. Everyone wants power, but no one wants the process. Everyone wants influence, but few want the inconvenience that comes before it. If you can endure the process, you will carry a weight that others admire, but will never fully understand. Your pain has a purpose, but only if you decide to give it one. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you into someone with compassion, courage, and clarity. Let every scar become a story. Let every loss become a lesson. And let every delay build your discipline. Strength is not found in emotion. It's found in decision. You won't always feel strong. You won't always feel hopeful. But your power comes when you choose to rise anyway. When everything in you says give up, but you show up. When fear says stop, but you move forward. Strength is forged when obedience outruns emotion. It's not a magical feeling. It's a habit. It's built in the quiet moments where no one is watching, where the only battle is between who you used to be and who you're becoming. It's in those choices that the strongest version of you is formed. You weren't created just to survive what life throws at you. You were created to dominate it. There's a difference between living and leading, between waking up and walking in purpose, between existing and expanding. You are not here just to get by. You are here to make a mark, to shake the ground you walk on, to be a force that others feel when you speak, act, build, and believe. The pressure, the pain, the setbacks, they're all tools in the hands of a person who understands that greatness never shows up without a fight. You don't become who you were created to be by avoiding the battle. You become it by embracing it. Most people think when they're going through darkness, setbacks, or delays, It's a sign that they failed, that life has turned against them, or that maybe they took a wrong turn. But that's not the case. There's a critical difference between being buried and being planted. Buried things are dead and forgotten. Planted things are full of potential and purpose. When something is planted, it's put into the ground, pressed down, covered up, and left in the dark, not to be forgotten, but to grow. The same is true for you. If you're feeling hidden, if it feels like no one sees you, if you're surrounded by pressure and silence, it doesn't mean you're finished. It means you're forming. It means something is happening within you that can't be rushed or revealed too early. Growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the soil. When a seed is in the ground, it begins to change before anyone on the surface sees a result. That's the stage where roots are being driven deep into the earth. And the deeper the roots, the stronger the tree will stand when it finally breaks the surface. You don't see the roots growing, but without them, nothing above ground could survive. In the same way, the most important transformations in your life often happen where no one can see. In your thoughts, in your decisions, in your discipline, in your faith. Don't resent the hidden seasons. That's where foundations are laid. That's where your endurance is formed. That's where you learn how to sustain what you've been asking for. The world may never celebrate what's happening in your private battles. No one will throw a party for your consistency or your quiet commitment to rise above your emotions. But those are the roots that create strength that can't be shaken. When life presses down on you, when pressure mounts, when the weight feels unbearable, that's not the signal to break. That's your opportunity to anchor deeper, to say, this may not be what I wanted, but I'll let it make me stronger. It's in the hidden places, in the silent seasons, in the unnoticed decisions that your greatness is either born or aborted. Choose to let the silence shape you, not shrink you. Choose to let the pressure push you toward purpose, not panic. We live in a world that celebrates results and overlooks process. But the process is where your identity is shaped. The process is what prepares you for the promise. A seed that fights its way through the dirt learns to push. It learns to stretch. And when it finally breaks through, it doesn't do so by accident. It does so because it was forged by resistance. You too are being forged. Every hard thing you face, every delay, every moment of loneliness is not without value. It's building grit. It's developing your ability to stand when others fall. It's training you to carry what you're being prepared to receive. You're not being overlooked. You're being outfitted. When nothing seems to be changing on the surface, trust that something powerful is happening below it. Trust that every delay is building your durability. Trust that the silence is sacred, because growth in silence means you're learning to move by faith and not by applause. When you're planted, you're protected. You're being positioned, not punished. You're being developed in a way that can't be undone by shallow recognition or surface level praise. There's a purpose in the pause. And if you rush the process, you'll forfeit the strength that comes from it. Let the season of silence teach you how to stand tall when it's time to be seen. You may feel like your story is stuck in the shadows, but even shadows are evidence of light. Being planted is never permanent. It's preparation for promotion. And just like the seed eventually breaks through the soil with unstoppable force, so will you. You don't need everyone to see you growing to know that you are. You don't need instant results to know that you're being refined. What matters most is that you stay rooted, that you remain grounded in your vision, your values, and your discipline. Because everything that's buried in darkness for a season, when cultivated with faith and perseverance, emerges with power. Your mind is the most powerful weapon you have, and yet most people never learn how to use it to its full potential. They let their thoughts run wild like untamed horses, dragging them into fear, anxiety, and doubt. But here's the truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the master of them. If you don't control your mind will control you. And when pressure hits, when life gets unpredictable, it's not the circumstance that determines your outcome, it's your thinking. It's how you interpret what's happening. The difference between someone who breaks and someone who breaks through is the story they tell themselves in the middle of the storm. When you start telling yourself a different story, your life starts moving in a different direction. Most people react to life, but very few respond to it with intention. They let the emotions of the moment dictate the decisions that shape their destiny. But the strongest individuals understand that emotional maturity means you don't need your feelings to give you permission to move forward. You move because it's right. You act because it aligns with your values. You keep going because you've decided who you are, regardless of how things look or feel. That's what separates leaders from followers. That's what gives people the power to walk through the fire without getting burned. They've trained their mind to obey the mission, not the mood. And that's a discipline that turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces. Every battle begins in your head long before it plays out in your life. That internal conversation you're having, the one no one hears but you, is the script your future follows. If you speak defeat to yourself, if you meditate on fear, you will shrink, you will hesitate, you will settle. But if you speak with boldness, even when you're trembling, if you declare strength, even when you feel weak, if you remind yourself that fear is just a signal, not a sentence, you'll begin to rise. You don't need perfect conditions. You need a powerful mindset. You need to feed your faith more than your fear. You need to water your belief more than your doubt, because what you feed will grow and what you starve will die. The world is filled with distractions that want your attention and fear that wants your submission. But when you master your mindset, you no longer hand your power to every outside voice or passing emotion. You become rooted, focused. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. You've aligned your thinking with the person you're becoming, not the person you used to be. You begin to anticipate obstacles, not as signs of failure, but as tests you're prepared to pass. You no longer fold under pressure because your mind has already made the decision to stand. Strength in life rarely begins with the body. It always begins in the mind. People often ask how others succeed in the face of chaos, how they continue when everything seems to be falling apart. The answer is simple, but not easy. They decided to think differently. They made a daily decision to renew their mind, to rewire their thoughts, to stop reacting to life and start designing it. They chose to believe in a vision that hasn't materialized yet. That kind of thinking isn't built overnight. It's built in the repetition of belief, in the daily discipline of choosing thoughts that align with faith and not fear. You cannot speak defeat and expect victory. You cannot entertain doubt and expect clarity. You cannot nurture insecurity and expect confidence to rise. Your mindset is the gatekeeper of your destiny. Every goal you've imagined, every dream you've buried, every breakthrough you've been praying for is first unlocked in your thinking. If you shift your perspective, you can shift your entire path. You don't need a new situation. You need a new strategy in your mind. Start by refusing to think small. Refuse to dwell on what's missing. Refuse to let fear set the boundaries of your decisions. Begin to program your mind with words that empower you, with truths that ground you, and with vision that expands you. Because once your mind is transformed, your life won't be far behind. Pain is often misunderstood. Most people run from it, avoid it, or try to numb it. But pain has a language, and when you learn how to listen to it, it becomes one of the most powerful teachers you'll ever have. Pain reveals what needs healing, what needs strengthening, and what needs releasing. It doesn't show up in your life without purpose. When you stop seeing pain as an enemy and start treating it as a messenger, you open yourself to a deeper level of growth. It's not about liking pain. It's about learning from it. Because every painful moment carries a lesson wrapped in discomfort. And if you unwrap it with intention, that lesson can launch you into a new dimension of strength and clarity. Too many people spend their lives trying to avoid pain, only to end up stuck in cycles that bring even more of it. They settle for comfort and call it peace, but there's no growth in comfort. True transformation happens when you choose to face what hurts and ask, what is this trying to teach me? That question can turn suffering into strategy. It shifts your focus from being a victim to being a student of life. Pain is not the end of your story, it's a chapter. It's a page where your character is tested, your resolve is measured, and your purpose is refined. Every great breakthrough is born from a season of pain that refused to be wasted. There is a level of wisdom you only access through pain. You can't read about it in a book or get it from someone else's experience. You earn it. You live it. When you've walked through the fire and come out the other side, you see life differently. You no longer panic when problems arise because you remember the last time you survived what you thought would destroy you. You carry that memory with you like a weapon. It becomes your reference point when doubt tries to creep in again. The more you grow through pain, the more authority you carry. You speak with depth, not theory. You move with conviction, not convenience. And people can feel it because pain leaves a mark, but it also leaves you marked with power. There is a temptation to numb pain, to drown it in distractions, or bury it in business. But that only delays the lesson. Pain doesn't go away when it's ignored, it waits. And when it's finally confronted, it carries the same message it always had: you were made for more. When you learn to sit with your pain, to feel it fully without letting it define you, something incredible happens. You begin to take your power back. You realize that if the pain didn't kill you, it can't control you. It may have shaped you, but it didn't shatter you. And now, you get to choose how that pain becomes part of your purpose. People often think that strength is the absence of pain, but the opposite is true. Strength is forged through the presence of pain and your decision to rise anyway. It's in the moments where your heart is broken, but you still show up. Where your mind is flooded with fear, but you still move forward. Where your body is exhausted, but you still keep climbing. Those are the moments that shape you into someone who isn't easily shaken. That strength isn't loud. It doesn't always look impressive from the outside, but it's undeniable. It's the kind of strength that builds legacies, not just lifestyles. When you stop resenting pain and start respecting its purpose, you no longer wait for life to get easier. You rise to become stronger. You understand that pain is the price of progress, and you stop apologizing for the scars you carry. You wear them with honor because you know they represent a battle you didn't back down from. They remind you of your capacity to heal, to adapt, and to overcome. The presence of pain becomes a reminder that you're alive, that you're growing, and that something meaningful is being developed within you. Strength is not something you wait to feel. It's something you decide to embody. The most powerful people in the world aren't the ones who never feel weak, tired, or afraid. They are the ones who make a choice to act in alignment with their purpose, even when their emotions are pulling them in the opposite direction. Strength doesn't show up when everything feels right. Strength is revealed when nothing feels right and you show up anyway. It's a conscious decision to lead your life with intention rather than be led by the instability of the moment. When you decide to rise, regardless of the weight you're carrying, you are stepping into a level of personal power that doesn't wait for approval or comfort. Too many people are waiting for the right moment to act, the right mindset to begin, the right energy to start moving forward. But strength is not about waiting, it's about initiating. You take action first and the clarity comes later. You move first and the confidence builds after. If you let your feelings decide your level of effort, your destiny will always be at the mercy of your emotions. And emotions are temporary. They shift, they change, they deceive. Strength comes from choosing truth over feeling. It comes from being loyal to your commitment even when the excitement has faded. You don't train for convenience. You train for consistency. You don't fight when it's easy. You fight when it matters most. Every champion, every leader, every trailblazer has felt moments of doubt, but what separates them is their decision to keep showing up. Not because they felt invincible, but because they made a decision that their mission was greater than their mood. That's the essence of strength. It's not a personality trait, it's a muscle. And like any muscle, it's built under resistance. If you never push through anything uncomfortable, you'll never know what you're capable of. Every time you choose to keep going when quitting feels easier, you're expanding your threshold. You're becoming more than you were yesterday, not because life gave you an easier path, but because you refuse to back down from the one in front of you. Strength isn't loud. It doesn't always look like dominance or bold declarations. Sometimes strength is the quiet choice to stay in the fight, to get up one more time, to take one more step, to say no to what's easy and yes to what's necessary. That quiet strength is the foundation of resilience. It's not about proving something to the world. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about knowing that the fire in you is greater than the pressure around you. That the calling inside you is worth every sacrifice, every delay, every moment of discipline it takes to keep going when no one else understands your journey. There will be days when you feel empty, when nothing seems to be working, when your best effort doesn't seem to move the needle. That's when you must remember strength is not about results. It's about resolve. It's not about how fast you go. It's about whether you keep going. The breakthrough doesn't come when you feel ready. It comes after you've endured enough to earn it. Most people give up too soon. They think the struggle means they're not supposed to succeed. But the struggle is actually confirmation that you're in the process of becoming. Don't confuse discomfort with misalignment. Often, it's the very proof that you're on the edge of a shift. When you make strength your default decision, everything changes. You no longer wait for life to be easy. You prepare to be stronger. You no longer make excuses. You make progress. Strength becomes not just what you have, but who you are. You begin to move differently, speak differently. Carry yourself with a certainty that comes not from perfection, but from perseverance. Because strength isn't a one-time act, It's a daily choice to stand, to push, to fight, and to believe even when you don't feel like it. Fear is one of the most dominant forces that holds people back. Not because it's stronger than them, but because they believe it is. Fear thrives in hesitation, in delay, in silence. It gains power every time you retreat instead of rise. But fear, in its rawest form, is just a signal. It's not a stop sign. It's a spotlight showing you where your next level is. It marks the territory where growth is available but unclaimed. And if you stare at fear long enough without taking action, it will disguise itself as logic, disguise itself as caution, and before long, you'll call it wisdom. But real wisdom doesn't keep you small. It challenges you to move despite the uncertainty, to advance through the unknown, and to trust that your purpose is bigger than your panic. Most people try to wait until the fear goes away before they move forward. They think confidence will show up first, clarity will arrive early, and courage will walk in ahead of them. But courage doesn't precede action. It follows it. You build courage by walking straight into what you once avoided. You build strength by confronting what once made you shrink. The only way to break fear's hold over your life is through exposure, through taking the step anyway. Fear can't survive repeated confrontation. What scared you yesterday can become your standard tomorrow if you keep showing up in the face of it. That's not recklessness, that's resilience. That's how warriors are made, not by avoiding fear, but by building a pattern of facing it head on. Fear feeds on imagination. It multiplies when you spend more time projecting everything that could go wrong instead of preparing for what could go right. The mind left undisciplined will always drift toward doubt because doubt is easy. It doesn't require evidence, just repetition. But when you train your mind to look for solutions, to expect progress, to believe in the possibility of success, you take away fear's fuel. You stop rehearsing disaster and start visualizing victory. And once you begin to move with that mindset, fear may still knock, but it no longer owns the keys. It becomes background noise in a life driven by bold decisions, not small thinking. People who rise to greatness feel fear too. They just don't let it decide for them. They've made a commitment that fear will never get the final vote. They know that if fear is present, something meaningful is likely on the other side. They've learned that progress feels like tension and that the stretch is supposed to feel uncomfortable. You don't grow by staying in places that feel familiar. You grow by stepping into rooms where your knees shake, but your spirit speaks louder. You grow by stepping on a path where failure is possible, but your faith is louder than the risk. That kind of growth can't be taught. It must be chosen. It's a decision to lean in when everything in you wants to run. You cannot lead your life with fear and expect to reach your full potential. The two don't mix. Fear will have you overthinking opportunities until they disappear. It will have you waiting for perfect conditions that never arrive. But those who live with impact understand that waiting on fear to leave is a trap. You have to move while it's still present. You take action while your voice shakes. You say yes even with the tension in your chest. And what happens next isn't instant transformation, it's incremental courage. With each step, fear's voice weakens. With each decision, your confidence compounds. That's how leaders are built, not in the absence of fear, but in the refusal to obey it. What fear fears most is your movement. It loses power every time you act without its permission. It crumbles in the face of persistence. It cannot coexist with a made-up mind, and that's what you must develop. A mind that's made up, regardless of the emotional weather. A mind that has decided, I go forward no matter what. A mind that is more committed to purpose than it is to personal comfort. That mindset makes you dangerous to mediocrity. It makes you immune to the distractions that derail the average. Because once you've made peace with the presence of fear, it no longer has authority. It becomes the alarm clock that wakes up your greatness.